Tarek Rasouli. Oh, this is a good call. I'm excited about this.
Same here, Martyn. Thank you for having me.
Oh man. The only problem with a call with you is that there's so many things to talk about. There's a whole riding career. There's the whole journey through disability. Then there's all the other careers that you're just such a big part of. So I want to get to the BMX that you started with, but if it's all right with you, can we start with how you moved from BMX to mountain bike? So what was it that made you make the leap from BMX that you're having a lot of success in over to mountain bike? Like, was it the vibe or just the bikes? What was it?
Well, there was actually a friend of mine that was a little older than me, and he was already doing photo shoots with Bike Magazine, and then I asked him, "Hey, I mean, I wouldn't mind going there one day and maybe also shooting with them." And he gave me the contact, and I introduced myself. I went there to a Bike Magazine, and yeah, just introed myself. But that was actually after I did like a few photo shoots already. I did like maybe 3 or 4 catalog shoots because I was German champion at the time, and then they just rang me up one day and said, "Hey, you want to do mountain bike photos for this bike brand?" It was actually KTM bikes and heavy tools. Well, no, the first one was Hook bikes and KTM. The shooting was in Sölden, Austria. Was actually snowing on the day. And then the next shoot was Heavy Tools, and yeah, they were Austrian brands. I mean, KTM, everybody knows they're still existing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then I did more shoots. I did stuff for this clothing company, Kimsey, which was really like very big at the time in surfing, and they had a little bike section or bike department for bike clothing, and I did a couple shoots with them. And then I had so much portfolio, basically some adverts and catalogs, and it was all pretty high-end photos. And so I went to Bike Magazine and said, "Hey, you guys, if you need somebody that can ride bikes and jump and do tricks and style a little bit and so on, I'm up for it." And they took me to Lanzarote in 1993 was the first time they took me to this. And so the catalog shoots were in 1991, I think, 90, 91, something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. So you were on I might be being crazy, but I think I met, would you have been at Lake Garda in 95 or 96?
Yes.
I feel like I met you then.
Every year
Yeah.
I was. Yes.
Yeah, I remember going to that event, and it was a big deal for me because I'd just gone on to Cannondale, and I'm sure we were in like almost like in a big tent, and there was you and another guy. I feel like it was you, and you were riding with someone else maybe as well.
Oh, in that big tent. Yeah. No, I remember. That was in,
Yeah.
I tell you, it was in, I'm pretty sure in there were actually 2 times Big Tens. But you talk, like I was with Igor Obu, maybe the guy that jumped the ski ramp. Yeah. And we were teammates at the time, and we did shows. We did shows at Lago di Garda. The first shows, I think it was either 93 or 94, and then another one in 94 and 95.
Yeah.
So, and I remember you were at one of them. It was pretty crazy because one of the guys, I think, came up short or something on this big jump and busted his rear wheel or so. That was a BMX friend of mine as well. Jochen, yeah.
I remember because I was asked to ride with you guys, and then I was like, oh yeah, and super confident trials rider. And I came in and you were all doing like this crazy long jump thing. You were all like riding from outside the tent and coming, and I was like, yeah, I'm going. I'm not riding with these guys. They're crazy. I'm going to go and find some rocks out by the lake on my own.
Oh my God. Yeah, but I do remember that you were there and like very, like a little bit. And I do remember because, I was on Merit bikes, I think then.
Yeah, I remember.
Funky.
And that was when you had the big curly hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I would only go to those festivals to get booked for shows. Basically, that was the
Yeah.
first time. Like that was the second time I went to Lake Garda. The 1 year before I was in Mongoose, and we were doing shows as well, bunny hop shows. You would have been good there because we did bunny hop shows and contests. Um, that was with Andy Cromer and Ollie Scheffler. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two were there. They were like superheroes, and we were kind of the newbies on with our mongoose bikes and amplifiers, full suspension bikes, and
That was such a good time. So a few years after that, it must have been maybe 98. You'd have been on gone on to Red Bull.
yeah,
Maybe
in
98.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was wondering what was it like going on to Red Bull then compared, because like if you get signed for Red Bull now, it's like, oh my god, this guy signed for Red Bull. But back then, like, not it wasn't really that well known and like it is now. So like, what was it? What did it mean when you got a Red Bull deal when you got one?
Well, for me, I knew Red Bull for quite some time already because one of my closer mates from Austria he was basically like a Red Bull from BMX racing times. He was really big and bulky, and he was sponsored by Red Bull in the late 80s, early 90s, like 90, actually 90. Sorry, in 89 he was already sponsored by Red Bull, and we were visiting
Wow.
him, and he had a full like a palette of Red Bulls and t-shirts, and he gave us some cans and a t-shirt each, my friend and me, because we were visiting him for training for a week or 2 weeks or so, and was like really like awesome. And so he was always on Red Bull, but at that time Red Bull was not allowed in Germany, it was still only in Austria. And then later on they came to Germany, and suddenly they signed actually pretty much three guys at a time. One was, maybe you know, Sasha Mayenberg. Sasha was racing four cross later on. He was racing BMX with me at the time. He was a couple of years younger. He was junior world champion 1 year. And then myself, and I think NPJ, NPJ as well still. Niels Peter Jensen. He had his
I
own
feel like I
brand.
know the name.
Yeah. Anyways, he was for a little bit Red Bull, and then Guido Chook. He came very shortly after, I think. Like, yeah, briefly after us. And we were all in BMX, and they signed us for BMX actually at the time. And then I got just more and more into mountain bikes. And at the time, sometimes I was not allowed to wear a Red Bull helmet for the magazines. I had to switch to a regular helmet, and was kind of funky. And then eventually, it was like no problem. And I switched to mountain bikes 100% because I just was over it with BMX. In Germany, it wasn't that great, and my success was like not where I wanted it to be, and I knew I had to go live in the US, but I wasn't really fully ready for it. And in Europe, I was just so like good connected with all the mountain bike scene and doing shows and doing photo shoots, and yeah. But I always look for a brand that does both BMX and mountain bikes. And after I stopped BMX consciously, like racing, I was like, well, okay, then maybe I go for something else. I was on GT actually at that time in '99, and then they stopped the full team, sort of like kind of almost like a replay, or just deja vu with Tommy G, because Tommy G and Jake Atkinson were on GT just more recently. Kind of happened like it happened with me. Yeah, they stopped the whole team. And then I looked at the magazines, and I saw the Fro-Riders in Bike Magazine. I'm like, I know those guys, and they do really the same what I do, like very similar stuff. I should call Rocky Mountain, and that's what I did. And I called them, and they're like, "No, we have the Fro-Riders. We don't need anybody." I'm like, "Oh, okay, bummer." And I went to Lago di Garda Bike Festival again, and I was racing with my GT Sascar And actually, I got from what's the name? Nikolai Bikes gave me a sponsorship just for the event. They said, okay, put our stickers on your bike and wear a jersey, and if you podium, you get a bonus. And I podium, got I think second in the four cross. And then I met the German distributor Dirk Jans. I'm not sure if you know him. Dirk was like, I think 25 to 30 years distributors until a few years ago for Rocky Mountain. And we knew each other, but never too close. And he looked at my portfolio, and at the time I already had 20 covers at least, maybe more. And he's like, okay, we got to do something. And then that's how we started and how I started. That was first just on product and travel budget. But I met Richie and Wade and Tippie right away, and they stayed with me. Like I met them at Lago di Garda, and they came stay with me after that, and then we were super close, and I started traveling to go to Canada just maybe 2 months later. For my first trip, did like a heli drop and lots of fun stuff, and then went in the same year again at Canada and to the US and so on. So it was quite a few
quite a journey.
Good times.
Yeah, good journey. When you were at Lago di Garda when the Fro-Riders were there, would you have been doing the lake jump?
No, actually, I never did the lake jump. I know it was always.
I thought you would have done that.
Jump. No, because honestly, I was so focused on the four cross often, and then sometimes there were shoots. And when we were there as like in 2000 and 2001, no, 2001 and 2002, they had like a little setup with a hut, and we had to jump off like, the hut and so on. And it was, and then going to some like funky freeride shoots, with Bender and Tippie and Wade. We would go somewhere to this crazy drop. Bender was with his motocross boots and didn't actually drop because he already dropped, and then he came up and he's like,
wait, he rode in motocross boots.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Yeah, he and we had to actually go up this it was like a big rock face that you cannot ride with metal shoes really, or metal sole. And we went up, walked up, and he had to go all the way around the gravel road, and then he came when we already dropped. And it wasn't a fun drop, to be honest. It was kind of a little flatter. It was like, was not easy, but he's like, well, yeah, that's too small for me, because he was with his cartel. What was it?
Too small.
It was 20-inch bike, right? Something like this.
Yeah.
Insane.
That's so crazy. Hey, you remember the lake jump at Garda? I remembered I was talking to a guy at one of those lake, because it used to happen in the evening. Do you remember? And the whole town would come and watch these lunatics just jump into the lake by that castle thing. And I was talking to a guy there who just before the event, and I was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Oh, I'm doing the lake jump." And I said, "Oh, no, I mean, what are you racing, or what event?" And he was like, "I'm a lake jumper."
No, I know.
I'm here for the lake jump. I'm like, what?
But
that's what you do.
They were paid to come, and actually one of my friends, I was judging a lake jump before in Zurich, I think, and like later on, because Siemens Mobile was a sponsor of it in some years, and my friend Igor that I did first shows with, and he did shows and he did bunny hops, like he could bunny hop 117 or something like this on a regular mountain bike. And like really, really high. And we did always the shows together for several years for Univega and Mongoose and Marin. And anyways, and he would have this what do you call it? Pyro, like fireworks.
Pyrotechnics.
Yeah, pyrotechnics. And would like shoot himself, like he would jump into the lake and then have some fireworks with him, and it was great.
That's so stupid.
He
Yeah,
did
I
shows
didn't.
later on in China for BMW for probably 10 years or so.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. So let's go to. So you signed with Fro-Riders. And what was it like riding with those guys to start with? So it would have been Tippie, Richie Schley, Wade Simmons. So what was the kind of first shoot? Because were they all kind of already a little crew?
They were the Fro-Riders at the time
Yeah,
already, so they were already around for probably 2 years or so, 2 or 3 years. Well, 2 years, I believe. They did Crank 1, Crank 2, and then Crank 3 was released in 2000 when I met them. And then we were shooting, like Crank 4 was then like shot in end of 2000 and in 2001.
yeah.
And he they were, honestly, they were super fun. It was just the greatest fun. It was probably the most fun time that I had because it was more fun and bit of craziness. Talking about Lago di Garda, I don't know if you were there, but there was a cannonade party, and Saskia, remember Saskia, right?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
And
I love
and
Saskia.
and and there was Cedric, Richie, Tippie, and myself. And we were, I think this was in 2001, and we were dressed up as Tina Turner and the backup singers. And Brett Tippie was Tina Turner, Richie, Cedric, and I were the backup singers, all dressed as females, with wigs and full on mascara and whatever, makeup. And it was insanely funny on stage. Like, yeah. But anyways, that was just the last Lago di Garda.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing photos of that. I don't think I was there, but I remember seeing photos of definitely Tippie in the Tina Turner outfit. I've got a picture in my
Want to
mind.
see those photos because it's kind of blurry in my mind. But yeah, it was a big it was a good time
Yeah,
going with them on trips.
fantastic.
And yeah.
Was it let's list. So like, when was your accident? 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when take us through that day. What was because that would have been, was it Sun Peaks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Had you ridden there before or?
No, I rode in Kamloops on the weekend, and I was in Whistler and Pemberton and so on, Squamish, but not there. Kamloops was super fun. I really enjoyed that. Really buff, great riding, and I don't know, was a little bit, I would say, yeah, had a little bit of a big BMX flavor as well, but
Yeah.
Freeride as well. So it was bigger jumps, road gaps, but everything a little more, more dirt, I would say. And and then Sun Peaks. I didn't know Sun Peaks, and they had a bike park that just started at the time, and they were allowed to build some stuff, get some, on the mountain, get something built. We had, I was there with Aaron Peters and Johnny Waddell. I don't know if you know them. They were the superheroes at the time by Santa Cruz.
I know the name Wardell,
Yeah. Yeah, Johnny was like top. He was on Red Bull at the time already, and he was, top World Cup rider, top 10 rider. And Aaron Peters, I think, is from Santa Cruz. Um, so yeah, we went checked first at the different locations, and then decided to, what they wanted, what they should build. We had a half pipe, snowboard half pipe in the winter, but summer, of course, out of dirt. And we had a jump, or wanting to have a jump into the half pipe, then a turn, and then another jump. So 3 hits there. And then there should have been a ultimate slopestyle course as well. That was also the thought. But yeah, we started on the half pipe and did some little bit of filming before, but only on the slope, really, on the trails. Johnny and I, and then Aaron Peters built the jump into the half pipe.
So were you jumping like a jump into the slope of the half pipe?
Yes, exactly. Into the slope of the half pipe. So we had a kicker outside of, of the transition. The kicker was basically when you have the top of the transition from a half pipe, there was a kicker that was about 5 feet higher than
Like a
the end of
transition.
the transition. Yeah, but it was like the kicker, like a kicker. Yeah. And there is the half pipe. And then at the bottom of the half pipe in the lowest area, there was like a landing, maybe 10-foot high landing that we got built. Was really much too small, I would say. And and I had, my problem was I was always the one that wanted to go first. And when I would be Richie and Tippie and Wade, I would very often go first. Because I was the youngest from the team and because I was the newbie, I wanted to, it was sort of, maybe it was my competitiveness from BMX racing still, but of course there were things that I didn't do. Like Wade could ride certain things that were so technical that I was like, well, I'm not gonna do this. This is crazy. But in general, like with Richie, we were very similar, I would say, from our riding style, our background, and with Richie and Wade, I could do most of the jumps like similar sizes, and very often I was guinea pigging them. Anyways, so same thing here with Johnny. Johnny, downhiller, I had actually a lot of respect for him, but I wanted to be first jumping this. I don't know why, but I was like, okay, I gotta do this. I didn't even take a speed check run. I just went into it and, it was downhill in run, did maybe one pedal stroke and just let it go and went way too far, way too deep.
So
I let go of my bike, overshot it by 20 feet, like something like this, like crazy overshot.
Wow. And so you throw the bike, and how are you high up or?
I was high up. I was at least at 20 plus feet, at 20, 25 feet high, because obviously the landing was on a slope. So there you lose height, and the kicker was, taking me high up. And I had my suspension pretty hard on, and like
Freerider, right?
Probably
hardly moved.
Exactly. Well, I was moving, but not super, not that great. Yeah. Anyways, and at the time I was already having certain little injuries in that year. I had like my wrist wasn't 100%, my ankle wasn't 100%, my neck in that year. I rode Red Bull Ride. Maybe you know that comp in Australia. That's where I met Grant Allen, actually. Funny enough, like we met there, and I hurt my neck at that event, in my last practice run, actually. And that all together made the decision that I jumped off my bike, I would say. Because usually when you land in a more flat area, like, well, it was a slope, but it was still flat in comparison to a landing, you would stay on your bike. But then, I mean, I didn't have a neck brace or chest protector or neck protector. So just flew off my bike and landed on my feet first, and then broke my spine.
So you broke, because your injury's like lumbar, right? It's lower in your spine than mine. Yeah, L1. Yeah. So did you break your legs as well, or just your spine?
I broke my right heel. Just my right heel.
Oh, that's worse than breaking your back. Breaking your heel off.
It wasn't shattered. It wasn't crazy shattered, but it was, heel is a strong bone. But crazy that I didn't have, I had like very few scratches, like hardly anything. But first lumbar and my heel.
And what was the moment like? Do you remember what you thought at the actual time? Like moments after the accident, did you have
I was like
a clear memory of that point, or were you knocked out?
No, I remember. I was like, this is really bad. because I couldn't feel my legs. And I had pain in my back as well. I was screaming actually really loud, and I had no feeling, and I couldn't move my legs. And I'm like, no, this is fucked. This is really, really bad. But at the same, because something like that never happened to me.
Did you? So how did you get off the hill? Was it a helicopter, or how did they get you out?
No, they so there was a digger, and in the digger was a walkie-talkie that Johnny grabbed. He called the mountain guards, and they came with a truck. They came with a pickup truck. So they put me on a stretcher. They put me on the pickup truck, and it was a pretty bumpy hill down or mountain down to the next accessible road. And there was like a ambulance waiting, and they put me to the ambulance. Then they drove me to Kamloops Hospital. I was one night there, and they flew me the next day from Kamloops to Vancouver. And then I had to wait another day until I had surgery.
And did they do a fixation for your injury? Or?
Yeah.
They did a fixation, yes, over 5 vertebrae, which is crazy, like really long.
Yeah.
And it took 6 hours, the whole surgery. And then after 2.5 weeks, I returned to Germany, and they did another PET scan, and they saw, or MRI, and they saw that still the bone is pushing into the spinal cord, even though it was, there's a fixations, but yeah, the bone is still pushing against the nerve. And so they did another surgery, went in by the side, from the side through the rib cage, and took the bone out and put a titanium cage in. And that's the only metal that I have left, the titanium cage and a side fixation from L2 to T12. That's so it's 3.
Oh, so they took all the old metalwork out?
Yeah, the old metal, well, but only 2 years later or so. Yeah.
Oh, so you haven't had that for a long time.
Yeah. But I still have the cage, but of course that I've
no rust. When I said how did they get you out, and you said about a digger, I suddenly thought, oh my god, did they pick him up in a digger?
No, there was the digger. Yeah, that was
like Wade Simmons driving you down the mountain.
Yeah, like sort of like, okay, there's some logs. There's another body. Let's take it.
Oh my god. I'm often looking for the humor in those dark moments. Did you have any? Was there anything? It sounds like it was so traumatic, but was there anything about that day that was fun or funny or weird or?
Well, weird was, yes, there was something weird. It was weird, not necessarily funny, but when we went up in the lift, we went up the mountain to shoot. I was Johnny, Bjorn Enger, and myself. We sit in the lift, a chair lift, but I'm saying, because it was really a beautiful day, it was like, sunny, Rocky Mountains everywhere. And it was like, oh, wow, it's so beautiful here in the wheelchair. And I'm like, the chairlift.
Oh,
yeah, that was crazy. And I was like, that was so weird that I should have actually probably put my bike to the side and, take some time and maybe digest and be like, wait, what was that?
Wow, that's so weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, I had no direct relationship to a wheelchair, but my brother is in a chair too. I have a half brother that's in a chair. He fell climbing many years ago, or earlier than me. And yeah, that was my connection, let's say, in some way. But still, it was so odd that I said wheelchair, and then 3 hours later or something, I had the accident, maybe 3 or 4 hours.
That's so strange. You know what? When I had the day I had my accident, I was in at the MotoGP in Silverstone, was where we were doing the show, and I loved being at that event because I love MotoGP, and that's where I always wanted my show to be, at like big events. So it was a perfect setting for me. And I remember halfway through the show that I crashed in, the MotoGP had just finished. The race had been fantastic. We suddenly had a huge crowd watching us. And I remember thinking, this is exactly how I'd like my last show to be. Like how would I time it? Like, I didn't say it, but I thought that through. And then about 35 seconds later, I snapped my back. It was like the next thing I did on my bike. It's so weird. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, like, yeah, this is the sort of show I'd like to go out on. Like,
yeah, you gotta always be careful on
weird.
what you like say and so on, but sometimes we don't have full control over it. But
yeah, that's weird. It's a weird one. Yeah, but I always remember that because it's a really strange. Because I was already like quite old, you know. I was already thinking, well, I need to stop at some point, you know, like this, because the shows, when you do a lot, you know, it's like when you do a lot of them, it's hard. Yeah. It's hard on your body, and
really hard.
It takes its toll. So I was definitely like thinking about how to stop, but I didn't really want to do it like this. This was a terrible choice.
Yeah. But it was like sort of a choice, right? It's somehow it's a choice that we take in one way or the other, right? It's somehow, I mean,
we're not in control of this stuff, are we?
No, not fully, but to a certain extent we are, I would say, to a certain, of course. But then, yeah, hard to say, really hard to say where, you know, we won some lives, and of course, like, did somebody ask you before, like, do you want to be in an area? Probably say no. But yeah, it's you know, like we sometimes discuss, like, you know, on the other hand, we are in some way privileged, and you know, there is also something special about us, and yeah, you know, has all its pros and cons, but of course you can.
It is a strange thing, because I've definitely had moments that are because I'm in a wheelchair that I've had a fantastic experience. Like, whether I like it or not, it's like, well, that was, yeah, like you say, like, it's a privilege. Sometimes it's a privileged position to be like seeing the world from this particular space.
Yeah.
So sometimes something amazing comes out of it. It's like I say, it's weird. It's a weird situation. How when you had your accident, how soon were you planning the kind of reinvention of you? Like, did it happen? Like, did you plan it, or did it just unfold?
No, I had no proper plan for it. At first, I was, well, you know, you do the rehab, it's like 3.5 months or so until I was home properly, and then still rehabilitation. You would give all your energy in. But I started my first work-wise, I did some writing for Bike Magazine in early 2003. They sent me to different events, and that was pretty cool because they were kind of, you know, picking me up and saying, hey, you know, you can have your own column here, like a double page. There was before it was Freeride magazine. It was called Dirt Bike Pages or so. And then I went to Sedgwick to do a profile on him. I went to some event to do articles. And that was, that was pretty cool. Then I did some announcing and some judging. And then I had a friend asking me if he want to do, or friend actually was somebody that I didn't know, but he contacted me through email or so. And he said, do you want to do a premiere together? New World Disorder. I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, I know Derek really well. I know all the riders in there. And yeah, I know also some locations and anyways. And then, yeah, we did a movie premiere together. It was really successful. First show was like 500 people. And then he got me into the idea of doing an urban freeride event together. And it was his idea, well, his location, because he knew the mayor. The mayor was the husband of his, I think, the sister of his wife at the time. And so, we went to the south of Germany and created Ride to the Lake. Maybe you heard of that.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And was that, so that's before District Ride?
Yes. That's before District Ride and before Rasoulution. And Corey, he's Canadian actually. He lived in Munich and was a free rider, but more like, he was still employed, but he was pretty cool because he did the building and he had the creativity on the course and so on. So then we created Ride to the Lake together, and I looked after athlete invitations, media, and sponsors. And and that's how we started that. And then I was a lot exposed to it and interviews and so on. And then I had lots of requests for events. I was asked to do something in the Tour of Britain, to do something in Barcelona, to do something in Portugal, like Italy. Really, it was like lots. And I'm like, shit, how do I do this? Like, no idea. And I didn't study business. And so I looked for a business partner. And Corey and I didn't 100% work out. It didn't work out the way that it could have maybe. So we didn't partner up. He eventually left also Germany again. And I got a business partner that was a friend. She was in an event agency and she was my business partner and started Rasoulution with me. It was actually her. She had the thought of the name Rasoulution. And I didn't want to have too close of a connection to my last name because I thought, well, I'm already, everybody knows me and she doesn't know anybody in the bike world. But we were business partners for 6 years. And yeah.
Wow. So Red Bull District Ride, because that was, I remember that was massive. I remember seeing a clip of you, not long ago, actually, because when I knew we were going to chat, I was watching some
frozen
videos, and there's a clip of you like at District Ride doing a piece to camera from like a quad bike, and you're like all like buffed up, and oh no, we've lost connection.
Yeah, you were gone for a bit.
You're back.
I got a pan. I got.
He went off. He went off and got a drink while we were cut off. Did you hear what I said about District Ride?
No, you said you District Ride. No, I didn't hear what you.
I saw a clip of you and you were on a quad bike, like on like a berm doing an interview, and you were like huge. You were like all buffed up. I don't know if you were doing lots of weights or something. I don't know, but you were looking pretty fit.
I was not at that time. I don't think I did really weights, like a little bit maybe, but not crazy. But I would ride a lot in my chair from my place to the city and but I would say I was skinny in comparison today. Now
I know the
feeling. Bigger.
Yeah, oh dear. So Rasoulution begins.
With District Ride in the same year.
What was the first thing you kind of did other than District Ride? Like, what was the first sort of who did you sign first as a rider, as like in terms of management? Or was it mostly events?
It was I went to Crankworks to all the Crankworks events like 2004, 2005, 6, 7. I was judging there, and in 2005, I believe, I saw these Norwegian riders. And it was Trond Hansen and Niels Windfeld. And those were the first 2 riders that we signed. Very close, like shortly after, was Darren Pocoy. I'm not sure if you know him. Australian rider. Actually reminds me a bit of Chris Kyle. Like he was like, a bit more edgy and even skinnier, but very similar look, I would say. I mean, he was a bit crazier. But then Andreo Lacondeki and his brother Luis signed them. I don't know, was it in 2005? No, we did 2006. I'm pretty sure it was 2006. Yeah. 2006 was 26 Tricks was our like bigger second event after District Ride.
Yeah.
And that was like, we did everything from naming to athletes to course build together with a course builder friend and so on. And it was really cool. That was a big thing, and working with Leo Gang from that year on, really. So we did White Style and 26 Tricks, and also their PR and comms, which we still do today. We've done from 2006 onwards until today. So they're our longest, like next to Red Bull. But Red Bull, we work with different countries and different objections and so on. So yeah, Leo Gang is like our longest standing client. And it's really fun to see also their development over the past 2 decades.
Yeah, some incredible events. But already right from the start, like Lacondeki and just like the names that it can't be a coincidence. The names that you've had come through your books as Rasoulution, it's insane. It's like,
I
was thinking,
Martyn Söderström was the year after, like 2007. We had Söderström. Like that was like, we had definitely a solid roster at the time with Trond. He was on Specialized at the time and really also a really good rider. And then Andreo. Anyway, he was like, of course, he was loose cannon, but at the same time the most talented rider, really, next to Paul Bass also. And we had actually Semenak also in our, like, I talked to him and I had a contract for him at Sea Otter in 2006, maybe 6 or 7, I don't remember. And he's like, oh no, I'm actually good. Like before he confirmed, but then he was like, nah, I'm good. I think Andrew Chandler helped him out a lot, and cool, like really cool. I like the guy, and amazing what he did over the years.
So look, the list just got longer. So Lacondeki, Söderström. We haven't even got to the MacAskills and Wibmers and Fedcos, and God, it's insane. How do you approach managing someone like that? Easiest one for me to understand, I guess, is Danny. How do you approach helping someone like that? It's like, what is it that you're doing?
Well, first I look at their talent, of course. Like, are they unique, different in some way? Are they like, but what is also their personality like? Are they more down to earth? Are they friendly? Are they, there's like different areas, and it's not every time everything worked like completely out perfectly, but I would say it's like you have to have like a certain feeling for people on the one side, and then also see, of course, their writing skills and identify them as something that can stand out in the future. And then you see, like, does that make sense to work with them? And now it's got, I would say, way more difficult to identify that because there's just so many. And it just got harder and harder for everyone, I would say. Especially for new ones to come through and be sponsored, because there's just a flood of athlete, and you see so much on social media, and it's hard to stand out. So yeah, we I think that's like personality part, and can I see them? Yeah, can I see them being really good, like one of the best in at least maybe in Europe, or also a market thing, like to say, okay, which market are they from? Does that make sense? Is it, yeah, what are they doing? Is it also, for example, with Danny, like I saw Danny's first video, the Inspired Bicycles. The guy sent, actually, a friend of mine sent it to Hans. He sent it to Ryan Leach and to myself, a photographer friend. And I'm like, oh wow, this is amazing. Like, because actually we at the time already had quite often requests for shows, but I had only dirt jump riders and slopestyle riders, and they usually need more space and can't really work. And then Danny's skill was just so different because it had a mix of BMX street and trials. And that made it for me like so outstanding, because I also really like BMX, of course, with my background. And I was always connected to also BMX freestyle in a certain way, from in the time when I was riding. And yeah, so, and then I contacted him. It was funny because somebody else contacted me. He was Scottish, guy that looked after San Andreas bikes. I don't, right now I don't know his name. He asked me, he's like, there's somebody that needs maybe help. And then and that was Danny. And at the same time, I contacted him just online, and then eventually I got his number, and then he took a few months to make up his mind. But we were, maybe because of our portfolio and the riders that we had at the time, he was like, okay, let's do this. And then, yeah.
I remember talking to Danny at the time. I didn't know him very well at the time, and he was telling me, because he was talking to me a little bit about bikes, because I'd done some bike design, and he was saying, I've got these people, who want to sponsor me, but I'm talking to Tarek. I already knew your name at the time, and I'm talking to Tarek and these other guys, and I was like, who's the other guys? And it was like, some people at Monster, and I was like. And I'm like, oh my God, imagine an alternate universe where Danny MacAskill is on Monster. That is disgusting. It's just all wrong. Everything about it, because his personality so is not that. And it's like, I wonder how close the universe got to being destroyed.
You know what? He asked me at the time, he said, well, if we work together, do I have to ride for Red Bull then? Like, he asked me if he has to ride for Red Bull. Like, and I'm like, no, you don't have to do anything. Like, and I gave him a little bit of the explanation and my personal experience with Red Bull. And that was very positive, I have to say. And that's all I gave him. And, in the end, I want to work with you, whatever brands, in the end, that's your decision. I'm going to consult you on your path. And, yeah. But that.
Well, thank God you did. Thank God. Yeah. Oh man, because like talking about the riders, like someone like Danny and definitely Fabio as well, they're riders I know like better than the other guys you sponsor, but I'm sure the others are the same. Is a lot of what makes them incredible is obviously the riding, but their personalities off the bike. They're all exceptional personalities, like Danny is a wonderful guy to meet, and that's incredibly important, right? Those, he's you watch him on your bike and he's fantastic, and then it's almost amplified 1,000 times when you talk to him afterwards and go, and he's a nice guy, it's like, thank God my hero's wonderful, it's like a really important part of the job.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that makes today the big difference, because there's so many that can ride so good and do this and that, but the personality comes in also when I either meet them out on the, somewhere out and about, or you go riding and maybe meet somebody on a trail or in a bike park or wherever, and then how they come across and how they cope with you as a fan potentially. There's your choice between, do I keep this fan? Will he maybe become even a better fan or a stronger fan? Or will he turn his back and be like, oh, that was really disappointing? And that's so, yeah, that's like, yeah, Danny amazing. And, we got others like Tomomi. I'm not sure if you met Tomomi. Yeah, he's awesome as well and really friendly. Like, little bit of a bummer that he's not so often in Europe, but he's also so cool and so, yeah, like
he
just,
is wild.
Yeah, just positive. Positive. And
he's wild on a bike. Yeah, I've not met him actually, but
he's just the nicest guy you can imagine. Really, really. Yeah, smiles all the time. Like, yeah, he's good.
It's such a pleasure when you meet a rider that's so good and talented, and that they've got that side to them. And I mean, actually, most riders I know who are at the top level, I can't think of many idiots. They're all pretty. It's a good scene.
Yeah, they're all cool.
Yeah.
Chris, we worked with Chris for only I think 2 years now, a little over 2 years. But Chris Kyle, like he's also such a good, super nice guy. And when you sometimes you see someone and you see them and maybe, oh yeah, they got tattoos and they're probably like more stuck up. And I mean, I met him years earlier at Rampage, but he's also super nice. Like,
yeah. I'm always surprised he's quite small, but he does such, like, his riding's so big and so aggressive. Yeah, and it's like, how does all that come out of that frame? Because he must be so strong. He must be incredibly strong. But yeah, he's a cool guy. I'm tight. I know you're tight on time, so I'll finish up now. What would you say if you could go back to Olympia Bike Park in Munich and little Tarek? What would you? I don't know. Maybe not. What would you tell him? But what do you think he'd think of all this? Like, what is it possible to think about that?
Wow, all this, like, well, probably
there's a lot.
Like, yeah, there's a lot. I think he wouldn't understand quite a lot of it, not because, like, talking to a kid and be like, okay, well, you're gonna end up in a chair, but then you're gonna actually have a really positive impact on the mountain bike world and so on, and do positive things. You're like, I want to ride bikes, right?
Yeah. How about this then? If you like, because actually, the whole career is so much. What would he have thought about being like in the Hall of Fame? Like, would he have expected that, or?
No, of course not. But like, little Tarek was just a BMX guy at the time, and Hall of Fame would be like something that, at the time you wouldn't even know, and you wouldn't understand. And I think you only start to appreciate it when you're an adult, probably. Like, even in the late 90s or early 2000s, if somebody says, oh, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame, yeah, maybe early 2000s, I would have been like, okay, well, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to. And maybe one day, but before that, I would be like, yeah, that's not really realistic. But it's also not maybe that I would have cared that much. In the end, like, what I'm happy about and lucky, I can still ride a bike. I ride a Bowhead. Like, that's and I feel the most happy really when I ride a bike. Like, I mean, okay, I have also times like when I'm with my partner, I'm really happy too, at certain, whatever experience there may be. But for when I'm by myself or with friends, like, it's just, on a bike. Like, I rode last week, rode 65 just kilometers by myself, and it was just like so fun. Like it was like completely by myself, leaving here from my place, doing a little like loop, whatever little it was, it was under 3 hours, 2.5 or something. And yeah, but it was fun. Like it's just so good. And so that's I don't want to take it to the super extreme anymore, but I like just being out in the outdoors. And
that ride, was that on the RX or the racer bike? Yeah.
No, on the RX. I don't ride the race bike anymore outside, really. I've done that last year once because a friend rode my RX. Actually, a Canadian friend came, and yeah, it's crazy on the road bike now because you're so low and
Yeah.
and on the RX you see everything and you feel really much safer. And of course it's a bit more fun when there's a hill too.
Yeah, definitely. Have you seen the new RX? It's got the Bosch Gen 5 motor on it.
I have heard about it. I think they had it at Sea Otter, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they had it at Sea Otter, but I think just one there. So that's something I can't wait to try. I'm hoping to go out to maybe Whistler this year and maybe try that. So
that's my plan as well, actually.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
No, so because I'm planning, I don't want to talk about it because I planned it last year already, but we've done a rehearsal ride. I think I told you when I rode with Danny in some trails, on mountain bike trails. Now, like, I'm trying to cross the Alps later in the year. And yeah, hopefully maybe with that new RX. Well, let's see. But and I wanted to go to Whistler for sure, but there's District Ride as well. Red Bull District Ride is coming back. You might have heard it's in Holland just the week before Whistler.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely there. And then I believe I'll be.
Oh, well, let's go for a ride. Let's go for a ride in Whistler then. That sounds good.
Oh, that would be so good. That would be awesome. Please. Yeah.
Let's make that happen. Right, dude, I'm going to let you go because time is running out. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been fun. But let's do it again. There's too much to talk about with you.
Yeah, I feel also like we could have done maybe a second half or so. It wouldn't be the first time that I do two podcasts. But with you, it also feels like when I talk about something, then I want to ask you about it. And then I'm like, well, but I guess, yeah. And maybe when we see each other. But are you going to Riva?
Yeah, I'm coming down to Riva for a few days, so we can grab a beer there.
Perfect. Look forward to it.
That's fantastic. Cheers, Tarek.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.